Okay, so now that we've covered blog posts, pages, navigation, domains, and preferences, now it's time to have a look at themes, which, as I suggested before, is a much bigger subject than any of the other items within that menu. And it's why, therefore, I've dedicated an entire section purely to themes. Now, just before we get going, this you now understand. Online store is password protected, right? So that's going to stay there, of course, until we choose a Shopify plan. All right, let's get into discussing themes. So the way I like to think about a theme is if you imagine a store in the real world, it's that kind of window dressing, if you like, the look and feel of the store. And by default, Shopify gives us what it calls its debut theme, its kind of starter theme, if you like. And if you look at these images here, they correspond directly with these images here, okay? Now in this section, we're going to be looking at how we can customize an entire theme. But before we do that, I want to make you aware that there are many different types of themes. And so if I scroll down, you're going to see the theme library. Okay, and within the theme library, we have the option for free themes. So let's have a look at those first by clicking on Explore Free Themes. And so what we get are a handful: Simple, Boundless, Venture, and then all the way down to Minimal. Now, just to bring this to life, let me actually change the theme that we have, the debut theme, for another one of these. So let me just take, for example, Boundless. So I choose Boundless, it tells me a little bit about it. And then because that's the one I want, I'm going to click on Add to Theme Library. And then you can see I've got this message, you successfully added Boundless. And if I scroll down, I now also have Boundless in my theme library. So if I want to use Boundless instead of the debut theme, all I got to do is click on Actions here and take Publish. Are you sure? Yes, I am. Click on Publish. And now the look and feel of my site has completely changed. Let's confirm that by going over to the site and refreshing it. Okay, so within a few clicks, we've completely changed the look and feel of our site, which I'm sure you'd agree is pretty cool. And if I wanted to change it for any other theme, then of course, I just need to go back here, choose another free theme and swap it out. Now you might be wondering, well, why would you even want to do that? Well, again, think about stores in the real world. Every single one is different because each one is trying to define itself in a unique manner. And that's exactly what themes allow you to do. Now, as well as that handful of free themes, Shopify also has a theme store, as you can see here. There is, in fact, a complete marketplace for themes. There are so many of them that people will develop them and then sell them on the marketplace so that store owners can buy them to uniquely define their offerings. So let's check that out. Let's click on Visit the Theme Store. And so here we are. So you can see they're organized by collections, those that are trending, those that are recommended, fun and lively, etc., and also by industry. So pretty much every industry that you could think of. Now, if I scroll down a little bit, you're going to see this. Find the perfect theme for your online store. Explore our range of free and paid themes to find the right look and feel for your store. Okay? Find inspiration, discover styles, and start building your brand. Okay, so I hope that makes it really clear why themes are so important. So if we were to simply click on Explore Themes, you can see a full list of the themes that are available. So let's just scroll down here and just for example, let's say we wanted to take the Prestige theme. So you can see here it's $180. Typically that's a one-off fee, and often they will throw in, let's say, 6 months of support as well. So if I click on Prestige, it'll actually give me a bit more information, of course, about the theme, and then I have the option to either try it or buy it. So if I were to buy it, it would be as simple as making the purchase, of course, going back to my admin system and then uploading the new theme with this upload button here. And then within just a few minutes, I would have a completely different theme for my store. So I've absolutely no doubt that you've instantly grasped the power of themes and why they are so important. Now, for the rest of this course, I'm going to be using the debut theme because it's the simplest one and I can teach you absolutely everything you need to know about themes with the debut theme. Because the good news is once you kind of know how to customize one theme, you almost certainly know how to customize all of the themes. All right, so don't feel like you're missing out by me just showing you the debut theme. Once you've got that knowledge, you're going to be able to play around with pretty much any theme that's available either for free or within the theme store. So let's just put it back to the debut theme. So to do that, obviously, go over to Actions here, click on Publish. I want to go back to the debut theme, so click on the Publish button again. And we're back to where we started. And just to confirm, let's refresh our site. And hey presto, we are back to square one. And in the next lecture, we're going to actually look at how to customize themes. We're going to be focusing on this customize button. So I'll see you in a moment. So let's now take a deep dive into the debut theme, because as I said, once you understand the debut theme, you very much understand the concepts that underlie any theme. So let me start by clicking on Customize. Now, of course, the first thing you notice is that the screen has completely changed, because this is a completely separate editor that enables us to play around with how the theme is going to look. So you can see here with the image text overlay and everything we can see here, clearly that's replicating how our site looks right now. And what this means is that on this left-hand side, as I change various things down this left-hand side, I'm going to get things changing in real time over here. So this really is a very powerful way of building out our site. So before we really get going, I just want to mention a few more things. First of all, if you ever want to get back to the admin system, it's just a question of clicking on the Shopify bag up here in the left-hand side. Okay, that's going to take you back to the admin system. Also, over here, you see these three little icons here, because what Shopify provides you with is what's called a responsive theme. That means that already the site will work on any platform. So it will look great on desktop, it will look great on iPads, it will look great on phones, it will look great on every single platform that there is out there. And in order to test that, we can toggle between these various things to have a look and check, basically, to see what it looks like on these different platforms. So here, clearly, we're looking at it from the point of view of a desktop or a tablet. But if I was to click on this one over here, I'd be able to see what it looked like on mobile. So this is really fantastic because, as I said, this is all in real time, so we can check continuously to make sure that our site looks absolutely great on every platform there is. And just for completeness, if I click on this one here, then it simply expands it to the whole screen and we lose the menu on the left-hand side. So let's go back now to the main desktop. The other thing I wanted to show you is that we're looking at the home page now, but if we ever wanted to switch between any of the other pages on our site, we can do that with this menu up here. So if you click on the drop-down menu here, I can switch to the various pages within my site and edit them in real time in exactly the same way as I can edit my home page. So I'm sure you can already appreciate that we have a very powerful tool at our fingertips. And just like with everything with Shopify, it's all point and click. You really don't need any technical skills. So if we now turn our attention to this left-hand side menu, you can see that it's divided into sections and theme settings. So let's first focus on this sections part. So what we have is basically the page divided, as you might expect, into sections. And the easiest way for me to demonstrate this is just to dive into each one of these sections, and you're going to see very quickly how this is organized. So first up, let me click on the header. So within the header, we have basically the logo and the menu. And you can see here that we can change this, right? We've got the logo alignment that we can fiddle around with. We can add a logo image, which we'll look at later on. And we can also play around with the actual width of the logo itself. Equally, we can play around with a menu directly from here. And if I were to click on this little thing to open up the menu, of course, it takes us to the navigation system that you're already familiar with. Going back to the theme editor, we also have the concept of an announcement bar. Okay, so if I were to click on here, show announcement, you're going to see it changing in real time on the screen. So if I click on show announcement, here we have the opportunity to announce something. So we might be writing something like free shipping available just today or something like that, right? We have that opportunity. And as you can see, we can also choose to only show it on the home page. Now that announcement bar can link to anything on our site. So if I click in here, you're going to see all kinds of options where I might want to link it to. We can also change, of course, the color of the bar and the color of the text within the bar. So let's scroll back up to the top and come out of the header. Now, each of these following sections refers to a section on the home page itself. So as I scroll down, it's kind of a little bit difficult to see, but you can see this first one is called Image with Text Overlay, which refers to this one. If I come down to here, this is this one here, Image with Text, Image with Text. Then we get some text columns, okay, and then we get a feature collection. Scrolling on down further, we have an image with text overlay, which corresponds to this bit here. And just finishing off, we have testimonials, and then finally a gallery. So hopefully you can see how this corresponds with exactly what's going on the homepage. Now with any of these sections we can switch them off. We can simply remove them from the homepage very easily by simply clicking on the little eye. Okay, so that's going to remove the image with text overlay. So now the first thing that appears is image with text. If I was to switch that back on and turn off the feature collection, for example, as I scroll down, the feature collection is no longer showing. And of course that option isn't available in the header because the header always has to be there. The other thing we can do, and let me just switch this back on, the other thing we can do is to move these things around, so change the order. So I can pick this up, drag it, and put it here, for example. So now the image with text is sitting above the image with text overlay. All right? So super simple and super powerful. Let me just put it back to how it was in the beginning. Okay, we're all back to square one. So let's now imagine that I want to edit this whole thing, this whole image with text overlay section. So in order to do that, all I need to do is to click into it. Now the first thing we can do is replace this placeholder image by any image we please, simply by clicking on select image and finding an image on our desktop. And I'll be doing this later on. In the next lecture, I'm actually going to start adding in proper images for real. But just for the moment, you can see how simple that would be. We can also play around with the image alignment and the layout and the section height in relation to the text. But the other thing I wanted to show you here was the heading itself. So you can see that this text here, image with text overlay, clearly relates to this. And if I were to type something different in here, let's imagine I put YYY, just like that, just to show you, you can see that YYY appears over here immediately. So let's just take that off for a moment because I don't want to save any of these changes. But clearly it's the same story as well with the text. Now the other thing we can do is to add in a button, a call for action, to perhaps take somebody to another part of our site. So I might have a button called Shop Now, for example, which then I can then link to anything within my site. Now at the moment we don't have any products, but we do have a page. So let me just show you how to do this. Obviously we wouldn't really be linking it to the Contact Us page, but I just want to show you that the Shop Now button is going to show up. So let me just remove this for the moment. Remove the Shop Now to bring it back to how it was. Now the last thing is we can remove this section entirely, not just hide it, but remove it completely from the home page simply by clicking on the Remove Section button. So scrolling up to the top, let's come out of here and look at the next section, which is the image with text. Now this is very similar to the section we just looked at because we can change the image. We can play around with its alignment. We can play around with the heading text, of course, and the text itself. And we can also add in a button in exactly the same way. So coming out of here, let's jump down to the next one, which is the text columns with images. Now here, this is somewhat different, but the principles are exactly the same. We can add in a heading, we can change the text alignment so that it's no longer left, but perhaps something else. And then for each one of these images, we get a separate section down here, which if we click into it, we can, of course, change the image, the heading, the text, and add a button in some form of call to action. So I think you can see that there's a certain amount of repetition going on, but also equally I hope you can see how simple and easy this is to use. Let's come out of here and let's go down to the feature collection. Now the feature collection will simply be products that you'd want to pull out of your store in order to display them prominently on your homepage. And here we have some very nice things we can do. First of all, of course, we can select the collection. Now I know we haven't looked at collections yet, but essentially a collection is just a group of products, as I'm sure you can imagine. We can then play with the format of this by changing the number of products per row by just fiddling around with this little slider here and changing the number of rows itself. We can also choose to show vendor products and a view all button should we want to make it easy for our customers to simply view all of our products in one go. Let's move on to the next, which is the image with text overlay, which is exactly the same as the other one we looked at. Okay, so nothing really to see here. Let's go down to testimonials. Once again, we can add in a heading and then click into each testimonial to play around with the text and the author. So I think that's very, very easy to understand. Coming back out of here, we're going to finish up on the gallery. which gives us the option to play around with the section height, as you can see. And of course, we can add various images. And if I click into here, we get the ability to change the image alignment, and link it to somewhere on the site, as well as adding some sort of caption. All right, so I really hope that you can see how this works. We've just basically gone down through these very quickly. And I think just in the space of a few minutes, you can really appreciate that not only this is really, really powerful, but it's actually really fun to play around with as well. Now, you probably also noticed down the bottom here this add section part, because of course, if I wanted to add anything additional to this, all I need to do is to click on add section. And from here, I get a list of all sorts of things that I might want to add into this particular page, from blog posts to collections to images to featured products, promotional stuff, store information, text, video, you name it. It's all here. It's super powerful and really, really very, very complete. Coming out of here, the very last thing on the list is, of course, the footer. Now, you probably noticed these payment icons on the home page when we were looking at the home page previously. So if I didn't want to show those, all I would need to do is to click them off. But I quite like them, so let's just leave them on for the moment. We can play around, of course, with the background color and the text color. If we had additional languages, we could show the language selector. So if we had English and French, for example, we could show that in the footer so that our customer could switch between English and French very easily within the site. And it's the same story with the currency selector. If we had multiple currencies, so if we were showing our site both in dollars and also in pounds, we could show the currency selector here to enable our customer to easily switch between the two. And then towards the bottom, we have the quick links. So clicking into here, of course, we can manage the way this looks by changing the heading. And if I was to click on this, it's going to take me to the navigation system in the same way as we looked at the navigation system for the header. And then finally, if I go down to the newsletter here, I can change the newsletter heading and of course perhaps remove the whole thing if I didn't want it to show at all. And then right at the bottom here, we have the theme settings. If I scroll down here, this is where I can enter and manage all of the social media profiles that I might have for my store. So let me just come out of the footer. And let's just take a moment, because we went through a lot there. But as I said several times already, I really hope you can see how powerful and simple it is to use. And I would love you just to dive into this and just start clicking around. You're really going to build confidence quickly. I mean, you can't make mistakes. And if you do, you can just simply not save them. Now, the last thing we want to look at least in this lecture, are the theme settings, which you'll be pleased to know is a little less involved than the sections. So if we go into the colors, you're going to get this all very, very quickly. Of course, we can change the color of any text or buttons or form fields or image overlays or page or indeed anything on the site. Coming out of here, if we go into the typography, of course, we can change the font and the font sizes of our headings and buttons and the body text. For the search bar, which if we just go all the way up to the top here, we're talking about this thing here. All right, so if I click on this, we get the search bar with any Shopify store. So we can enable product suggestions, as you can see, show vendor, show price within those suggestions. Coming out of here, I can go down to social media, where of course I can encourage people to share my site on their various social media accounts. The favicon, which is this tiny little image that you see just to the left of the tab here. This is a Shopify one. We can change this as well simply by selecting an image. Then we can control the notification if somebody adds something to the cart. So that's just simply a toggle on and off. And then finally, the checkout. Now, I know as well we haven't looked at the checkout, but you've all seen a checkout on an e-commerce store, so you can certainly imagine this. But basically, we can customize the look of the checkout. So we can add a banner. We can change the logo if we ever wanted to at this point. We can change the main content area, adding in images, and fiddle around with the order summary and the typography and colors of the checkout itself. And then finally, you notice down the bottom here it says checkout settings. To customize more checkout settings, visit the admin. If I were to click on that, it takes us to this page, which we were looking at several lectures ago now, where I was talking about all the various settings that you can apply to the checkout. So if we go back to here and then come out of the checkout, the last thing I want to draw your attention to is, of course, you've got plenty of documentation. And if you ever need support from Shopify themselves, you just need to click on Get Support, where there's a huge community that can help you out at any time. So really massive congratulations if you reach this point in the course. You have already learned a ton, I hope you'd agree. And in the next lecture, we're actually going to start looking at images, how we can get images to start adding them to the site to start bringing this whole thing to life. Okay, so as I said at the end of the last lecture, we're now going to start looking at adding images to our site and start to bring this whole thing to life. And we're going to start off with the logo. We need to obviously change this Tim e-commerce expert so-called logo into something that is a lot more attractive. And of course, we're not going to call our site in any case Tim e-commerce expert. It's going to become Daily Dog Delight. So clearly we need to create a logo that reflects that. Now, when it comes to creating a logo, we effectively have two options. Either we can do it ourselves or we can get somebody else to do it. So if you wanted to get somebody else to do it, there are many sites that do it. But of course, I'm sure you're aware of a site called Fiverr, where you can pretty much get anything done from $5 or up. So if I were to type in here, for example, logo design and click on this, it brings me up, as you can see, 93,000 services available. Okay, so no lack of people that can design a logo for us, and it's amazing what some of these people can do. So if you've got an idea for the logo, at least you can give some sort of instruction to somebody. You could easily jump on Fiverr and within a couple of days have a really great looking logo. However, if you did decide to do it yourself, then there are also many options available, and I'm certainly not a gifted graphic designer. You might be, but I'm certainly not, and I'm sure a lot of people listening to this class aren't either. And so what I like to recommend is a site called Canva.com. You may well have heard of this as well. And much like Shopify in the sense that it's all drag and drop, all point and click, and you don't need any technical skills, Canva gives you everything you need to create a fantastic logo without being a gifted graphic designer. Now what you're looking at here is my Canva account, and of course if you want to create an account, just head over to canva.com. It's completely free. There is a paying part, but to be honest, the free part is incredible what you can do with it. And to date I have created tons and tons of logos and still haven't found a real need to sign up for the pro version. So here we are therefore on my dashboard. Now just to show you how this works, I'm not going to give you a full-blown Canva tutorial, but what I am going to do here is create a quick logo for our store. So in order to do that, if I click on the Create a Design button here, you can see that one of my options is logo. So if I click on logo, it brings up the logo editor. And from here, it's really just about having a bit of fun, because as I scroll down here, you can see all kinds of logos organized into all kinds of categories. And I can simply drag these things. So for example, if I wanted this one, just drag it over here and then start working on it. Now clearly that's not going to be a great logo for my dog site, so let's just undo that. And what I am going to do is go into search templates and look for something related to dogs. And okay, it only brings up one, but what I want to do is use this one to actually create my logo. I don't have to accept what they've got there. I can completely edit everything, and that gives me a great start. And it's also free, as you can see, so that's great. So if I take this and I drag it into here, and then I can start working on it. So let's imagine that I want to keep this paw print. That's really the only thing that I like. And the rest of this I'm not interested in. So we can take these sections out. So let's take out cats and dogs. And let's also take out pet shop and cafe. So now all I have is my paw print. So let's put my paw print over here and let's maybe expand it a little bit. Then what I might then do is write down here Daily Dog Delights. Not the greatest logo in the world, but all I'm doing here is inspiring you so that you can really create some fantastic logos should you want to. So in order to create Daily Dog Delights down the right hand side there, I can just simply come over here, take a text box of some kind, and in this instance I could perhaps take a subheading, because that's kind of like a good start, and then I could change the text. So I could write daily, let's take out some of this, dog delights. All right, then let's position it a little bit better, maybe make it a little bit larger. We can align the text so it's to the left, and let's make it a little bit bigger as well. So Maybe take it up to 28. 32 is looking pretty good, I guess. Let's now change the spacing so we can change the line height down a bit, something like this. All right, I'm sure you get the idea. I'm just fiddling around here because I want you to see how simple and easy this is to use. Now that's not a bad looking logo for, 2 minutes of work. So let's actually accept that. Let's make that our logo, Daily Dog Delights. Now you can see here that all changes are saved automatically in the cloud. So all I need to do is to name it. So I could name this logo Daily Dog Delights. I cannot type Daily Dog Delights, and then simply download it. So if I click on download, I can choose to save it as a PNG or a JPEG. A PNG is absolutely fine, and then just click on download, and that's going to be transported down onto my PC. And there we have the file down the bottom left hand corner, waiting to be imported now into my Shopify store. So back here on Shopify, all I need to do, as you now know, is to go into the header and then select an image. Now, of course, at the moment my library is empty, so I'm going to upload that image from my desktop, and I'll see you in a second when I'm done. Okay, so the image is uploaded, and as you can see, it's automatically selected it for my logo. Now, to be honest, I probably want to make that a bit bigger and make it a little bit easier to read. But as I say, I'm trying to inspire you here. I'm not creating the most beautiful looking website for you. The purpose of this course is that once you're all done, you're a Shopify expert. You can do anything in Shopify, okay? But the design and the inspiration, I'm leaving all that good stuff up to you. So let's accept it. Let's say that we're happy with that. So let's click on Select. And then we can do various things, right, like we looked at before. So I could logo align in the center. So let's have a look and see what that would look like. Not too happy with that. Prefer it on the left. I can, of course, change and edit all of this. And I can change the logo width as well. So let's take it up to something like this. You can see that the logo has got somewhat bigger. But again, that makes my whole header bigger. So I'd probably take it back down to something more like that. So assuming I'm happy with that, all I need to do is click on Save. And if we come to the site itself and refresh, then of course it's going to pull in our new logo. Now there's just one last thing that I want to show you, which is going back to the settings, because remember we looked at the settings, the files to be precise. So if I go back to that now and click on Files, remember how I said all of your images, etc. are going to start building up in your file section? Well, as you can see, the logo has been added here. You've got your first file, so if you ever need to find it back again, you can find it here. Okay, so there we go. Congratulations. The logo has been added. Now, in the next lecture, what I'm going to start talking about is adding other images to your site. More precisely, the hero image, what we call this big image here. We need to start playing around with this. So I want to talk about where you can source these images from, because there are many sites and I want to make sure that you're aware of the best possibilities. So as I just said, I want to take this moment to talk about where the best places are that you can get your images from. Now, the key point here, the key takeaway here from this lecture is that in order to create a great looking site, images are of extreme importance. They are the initial impact, right? That's what's going to impress your customer. Now, I know that sounds really, really obvious, right? But at the same time, with all the reviews that I do, so often I see a site where somebody has spent no time thinking about the images and the site just doesn't look professional. It looks very amateur, and therefore people just generally won't buy from it. You know, think about it from your point of view. If you went to a site where the images looked a little bit unprofessional or just looked like they've been taken from anywhere, you wouldn't necessarily feel confident in buying from that site. So images are of paramount importance. Now, we can get images from all over the place, okay? And I'm going to show you a bunch of different sources here during this lecture. And we can pay for them or we can get them for free, all right? Now, there are lots of great image sources for free, okay? I'm going to show you those as well. But I do want to start off with the paying images. Now, you might think, well, if there's a bunch of stuff available for free, why do I even want to look at the paying? Well, there are three main reasons in my opinion, okay? The first one is choice. Typically speaking, on a paying site, you're going to have a much wider range of images available to you than simply going on Google or on a free image site, okay? So that's the first one. The second one is the quality of the images. There's no question that you can get good quality images on some of the free sites and even on Google, but on paying sites you're always guaranteed images of the highest quality. Now, the third reason is the question of royalties. Royalties are always associated with images. And royalties is basically whether you can use their image or not for yourself. Now, I'm going to show you some free sites where you can get royalty-free images, so you can use those. And on Google, I'll also show you how you can find those things. You need to search around a bit, but it's possible. But of course, on the paying sites, you own them. You don't have a problem with royalties. That's the whole thing. You buy it, you own it, you keep it forever, and you can use it for whatever purpose you wish. Now, it probably sounds like I'm trying to push you towards the paying option. I'm really not. I just want to make you aware there are some great free options. You can no problem, you can build out your site with all kinds of free images. You're going to see that. But I just want to make you totally aware of the advantages of paid images should you want to use them. Okay, so let's have a look and see where we can get images from. You've been looking at this for a little while. iStockphoto.com, an absolutely enormous database of paid images. Okay, so we're going to start with the paid image sites. And there are two in particular that I recommend. So these are very simple. You just have the search thing here. If I wanted to search for dog-related images, I could just type in dog, and I get absolutely tons of images popping up. 1.2 million, I hope you can see that, dog stock photographs. So an absolutely enormous choice of very, very high quality images. Now, in terms of cost, you're probably looking at about $5, something like that, per image, maybe up to 10. It sort of depends, right? But it's that kind of ballpark figure that you want to think about. I believe that as a long-term, we're talking about building a long-term business here, that spending $5 or $10 on an image is well worth it. Okay, I consider it to be a very, very good investment. But at the same time, I do understand that not everybody has a budget for this kind of stuff, especially in the beginning. So I don't want to repeat myself too much, but I'm going to show you some free stuff as well. Now let's jump over to the second one, which is Shutterstock. Okay, exactly the same principle. We have a massive database of things we can search. So if I type in dog here, and search their database, this time I get 3.1 million dog stock photographs. So absolutely loads of photographs as well. Okay, so two really, really good paid image sites where you're literally never going to run out of ideas. Okay, so let's now have a look at some of the free options. So let's head over to Google first of all. Now I've already typed in dog into the Google image search area and it's brought up a ton of dog photographs. But the problem is, as I was alluding to before, not all of these you can actually use because they've been pulled off of other websites, and some of those websites might have the exclusive rights to these particular images. But luckily Google does make life a bit easier for us, because if we go over to the tools here and go for usage rights, you can see that you can then filter by certain usage rights. So at the moment it's not filtered by license. That means it's just showing anything. If I come down to here, these bottom two, you can see labeled for non-commercial, labeled for non-commercial again, all right? We are commercial, we have a business here, okay? So we don't want to be taking stuff that can't be used for commercial purposes. I hope that makes sense. The last two are labeled for reuse, so we can just use them no matter what. Or here labeled for reuse with modification. Now labeled for reuse with modification means that we need to do something to the image to make it ours. So the easiest one to go for really is just to select labeled for reuse. And at that point now, all of these images that come up, I have the right to use them. Okay, so I can go along and I can download any of these images off of Google and I can use them on my site. Okay, so that's Google, and of course you could try exactly the same process on the other major search engines. Now, just to finish up this lecture, I want to show you some sites, as I promised, where you can get free photos. You don't need to pay anything, but where they are also royalty free. So this one, just for example, is called Free Range, freerangestock.com. It's the same principle. I could type in here dog, for example, and click on search, and I'm going to get, of course, a bunch of photos that I can use on my site royalty free, and I don't have to pay for them. So if I scroll down here, any of these, for example, I can use on my site with no issue whatsoever. Now, there are many sites like this, and I could show you each one as part of this lecture, but I don't think that's a very efficient way of doing things because they're all basically exactly the same, right? You get the idea very, very quickly. So rather than do that, what I've done is in the next lecture, I've put together a list, at least 10 image websites where you can go and find completely free images that you can use on your site. So I really hope in this lecture I've given you some great sources where you can find your images, either paying or free. And as you can see, there are many places where you can find free images. Particularly when you're getting started, I totally understand you may well want to go down that route. But whatever you do, please take a little bit of time to think about this. That initial impression, that professionalism, if you like, is so important when somebody comes to our site in the first place. So skipping over images, just any old image will do, is definitely not the attitude you want. You want to apply the best images you can to your website so that you continue to build out your incredible business. So now that you've got all that great knowledge, let's have a look and see the image that I chose and actually upload it to the site. So of course we need to go to Image with Text Overlay and click on Select Image. Now I'm going to upload this from my PC, so I'll see you in a moment when I'm done. And here is my image. I hope you like it. It's basically a woman cuddling a dog, and I think hopefully it portrays everything I want in terms of my Daily Dog Delights store. So I'm very happy with that. I'm now going to select it and then of course save it. And then, as I always like to do, although it's not really a necessary step, I just like to always refresh the site, make sure it looks as I would expect. And there we go, a really great addition to the site. So as I just said as well, I created that free list of image sites for you. So enjoy looking at that in the next lecture. And then after that, we're going to come back and start looking at how to actually tidy up the homepage itself. So in this lecture, we're going to look at tidying up the homepage, simplifying it in fact, because we have many sections and you now fully understand what these sections do. And if we were to build out every single one of these, this course would end up being 500 hours long. So I want to just basically simplify things down so we can create a great looking homepage, but at the same time not spending a huge amount of time doing it. So what I'm going to do is, of course, I'm going to be keeping the header and this main image with text overlay. We'll also keep the image with text here. We'll take this one away, but we'll keep the feature collection, and we'll also remove this additional image with text overlay here, the testimonials, this section here, but we'll keep the quick links and the newsletter and everything that's in the footer. So in order to do that, as you well know, what we need to do is to click away this one here, we need to click away this one here, and this one here. So if we scroll down now and have a look, we've got the image with text, the featured collection, and then finally everything in the header. And that's still a great looking homepage, and it's going to enable me to show you everything that you need to learn. Okay, let's of course save this. And then let's scroll up to the top, because the one thing we want to work on right now is this text here. So we want to change this image with text overlay and then all this gubbins here in the subheading. So of course, in order to do that, we need to click on image with text overlay, scroll down a bit to where we can edit the text, and then in the heading, what we'll write is welcome to Daily Dog Delights. Okay, so that's a good start. And then we want to change this text down here. Now before I do that, I'm actually going to save this. And then I want to go into the online store preferences, which I'm sure you remember because there's something there that I want to show you. So I've just come back into the main admin system and I'm on online store preferences. And you remember that we wrote this for the homepage meta description. And I described that as what was going to show up in the search engine listings. So what's a really good tip, a really good thing to do, is to have continuity between this text and that text that we would put into the subheading on our store. So that if somebody clicked this and then arrived in our store, it all makes sense because the page they land on is exactly what they would be expecting. Now I'm not going to take all of this text, but I will take a little bit here. So I'm just going to take this, I'm going to copy it, then I'm going to head back to the theme editor, and then I'm going to take this text here, take that out, and simply paste in what I'd copied. Alright, so welcome to Daily Dog Delights. Daily Dog Delights, maybe I'll just put some spaces in there just to make things a little tidier. Offers daily delights and treats for every dog lover. Our site is packed with fabulous products from nutrition to toys with new products added every day. Pretty nice introduction to the site, right? And also, as I say, has that continuity with what somebody would see in the search listings themselves. So let's save this. And then, of course, I always like to look at the site. Let's just refresh that. And I'll hope you'll agree that the site really is now starting to progress. And in fact, we can leave it here. Nothing more to do on the homepage for the moment, because the next time we're going to be revisiting this is when we have some products, because we want to be able to show those products on the homepage, but we haven't got any yet. So in the next section, we're going to be looking at adding products to your store.